every time that you make a purchase of animal product, right? You increase the demand.
I guess that's,
You increase the demand or whatever. And so that supply has to go up as well. So every time you do that, basically you're confirming your...
Right, I'm buying in.
Right.
Literally.
So I guess my question here today is, to maybe ask you or get you thinking about what's stopping you from exiting that process or taking yourself out of the circle of harm.
References willful ignorance and the culture in which I grew up.
Right. Let me just...
Yes.
Maybe I'll move it this way. There we go. All right. So... Oh, here. There we go. So...
Yes.
Our conversation today is about... Well, it starts with this question. There are 3 easy ones first. Do you feel like the powerful should have the right to oppress the powerless?
Typically no.
Typically no, right?
Yeah.
And then what if they're stronger than who they're trying to oppress?
Like,
Does
might
that matter?
makes right?
Right.
No.
And smarter or intelligence, if we factor that in, still doesn't change the answer probably, right?
It shouldn't? No.
Right. Yeah.
By principle? No. The principle is no.
Perfect. Okay, so
Now the hard ones.
we're on the same page there,
Yeah.
right? It switches when we, maybe turn the attention to what's happening in factory farms, to the animals that we use for food and entertainment.
Yeah.
And like how, we kind of put them in this category that allows us to, right, to like oppress them.
About to expose my hypocrisy?
Oh, no, yeah. Well, I mean,
Yes, probably.
It's hard, like, with caretaking versus, consumption. But, like, have you seen footage before of what happens in slaughterhouses?
Yeah, and isn't it like illegal to film it?
It is,
often,
yeah.
Or in many places?
Well, honestly,
State by
I think
state?
I don't know if it's just the U.S., but other countries are pretty okay with it. But the U.S. especially is really terrible. They like implemented ag laws, so agriculture, and to keep people from exposing the horrors of what happens in here. But we do have we have some footage playing here just from what happens there.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of brutal to watch, but it is what happens, and it is like the standard practice. That's all that Dominion shows is the standard practice. And so I guess I want to ask you, what do you feel? How do you feel about that? Or do you feel like we have a role in stopping this, or
Like an obligation?
Yeah, like a moral obligation.
I mean, depending on who we are, as if society makes a collective decision to do that, then yes, there's definitely power to stop it.
I guess are you? So I guess it makes me question, what do you feel about? How do you feel like your individual power,
Minimal to zero?
Like you feel like
in most, larger societal issues.
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, so I guess I want to bring attention to the idea that every time that you make a purchase of animal product, right? You increase the demand.
I guess that's,
You increase the demand or whatever, and so that supply has to go up as well. So every time you do that, basically you're confirming your...
Right, I'm buying in.
Right.
Literally.
So I guess my question here today is, to maybe ask you or get you thinking about what's stopping you from exiting that process or taking yourself out of the circle of harm.
References willful ignorance and the culture in which I grew up.
Well, yeah. Totally, yeah. That's definitely
that's my answer.
The biggest... I love that answer because it's an honest answer. It's the honest answer. That's the only way that any of us ever reach that point of feeling like somebody's better than somebody else is because we're taught that sometimes. Well, I mean, sometimes people are just genuinely evil, but for the most part, we can recognize that 2.7 trillion sea animals killed every year.
Sea animals?
Yeah, that's an atrocity and that's horrible. And so. What we know now, right, is...
That is essentially the only behavioral change I have made is I consume deliberately less seafood or opt for farmed seafood. I don't know if that makes you feel better about it. But
it's mostly
mollusks.
The idea of, somebody else is something that will bring me nutrition.
So how does this idea fit into, other issues of, medical research?
Oh, I mean... It goes into looking at the data, right? Only 4%, I think it is 4 of all animal testing ever that has ever gone to clinical trials for humans and been successful or at all or actually made it to that point, that the amount is like 4%. So the amount is so minuscule. Like, it's helped us so little that we can't even justify.
Like, if the 4% is vaccines for polio or a cure for malaria, that is kind of the largest probably killer of humans on the other than humans, likely. I don't know the data.
For me that comes to a question of like, if it were,
is it as an exchange? Are we looking at?
Yeah, and like, who gets to make that choice? Like, if these animals' lives matter,
it has to be people.
Well, yeah, and so like, you would try to make a choice that in the best interest of both
Jason,
of you.
by the way.
I'm Elvin.
Elvin, nice to meet you.
Nice. You said Jason?
Yeah.
Oh, nice to meet you. And so, like, in terms of that, right, I think about maybe children, because like, I genuinely see animals as siblings to me. Like, before colonialism and all this like imperial capitalistic bull, right, there was a system of subsistence hunting, which was, fulfilling out nutrients, like maybe like if you literally had to, survival.
Yeah.
And so now we have this, but then colonizers came and they brought this system of industrialized farming, or like just farming in general, like cattle farming.
That started in Europe. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, they took it down to Africa, took it here, and so with the introduction of that system, right, we got Europeans clearing land and making way for cattle farming, because that's what they were used to, and that's what they did, and that's what prospered their nation, and that's what was going to bring
burgeoning capitalism.
Yeah, that's how they were going to manifest their destiny on North America. And so with that system came the categorization of human and animal, human greater than animal, man greater than woman, just general, like these ideas, because before, like, indigenous people, they acknowledged the valueship of the land.
Kind of more of a relationship.
Yes, exactly. And so then but now we have this system where we breed and we slaughter billions and billions of animals, and it kind of gets to like, how did we get to this point? But it's all of what you said. Like, I was raised in a culture where this was normalized, and maybe taught that, like, and then maybe willful ignorance keeps me from wanting to learn more. Like, I had thought a plant-based diet was super expensive, and that it was unattainable, and maybe like I was gonna have to count my calories and get a bunch of like nutrients from this specific source, and when I found out it's actually really easy to be on a plant-based diet, and like to the point where you could just probably drop meat and not do anything else and just eat more plants and be fine. But like, people make it seem so difficult, and the way the system has
feels
made
like
it
there's
seem.
A barrier to entry.
Yes, and
as well as just habit.
Exactly.
Culture. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so what we try to do out here is we try to get people to, wake up to that fact that, it's just a culture. It's just a culture of using animals and using, arbitrary reasons to define or to justify why we can use somebody else, especially when we wouldn't accept that treatment for ourselves or the animals that we do know and love and care about, right? Are you interested in that at all? Like, does that interest you?
In changing my willfully ignorant behavior?
Yeah.
I'm very unlikely to.
And why do you say that?
The habit, enjoyment, and the barrier to entry of, like, it's a change that I would have to learn what feels like a significant amount of information about to effectively make that change.
Yeah, I honestly get that. And that's why we're out here, really, is to make it
kind of just sheer ease. If it were a lot harder to get meat products, I would be I would be much less likely to.
Well, I mean,
do that.
And I'll let you know, there's vegans working on that too. So they're trying to make it harder as well, And so, like, as years go by, as the world progresses, it's only going to get harder to find those things. And even then, like, even if it is easy, like, it really comes down to the individual life of each person.
So, what is the experiment?
The experiment is honestly just to have a conversation.
Okay.
That's the social experiment. It's like having a conversation about oppression. It leads into animal rights, and maybe asking why you
at least
do
expose a little cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, and maybe just get people thinking. Like we it's literally all we do today. Like the whole day is have conversations and talk to people and give them resources. I don't know if you're interested.
Sure.
It'll make it easier.
I don't mind information.
That like all that having to find all that information. All of it. How it just seemed like a what? Like a barrier.
Yeah, barrier to entry.
Barrier to entry. that'll take down that barrier for you, at least halfway.
Diminish it,
so that you can maybe hurdle over that motherfucker.
A little bit at a time.
Exactly. And just like understanding that principle of like,
Yeah, it's a good point that I hadn't really considered. Is it's not all or nothing. It's maybe just a shift by 20%.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that over
like,
a large number of people would have an impact.
Yeah, the all or nothing comes from the mindset, right? Where you say, okay, I'm now viewing animals as sentient beings who have a right to live, and then the shift can come from like maybe it takes you a few days to figure out how to stop getting this from McDonald's, because like it's the only thing that you can stop by at or after work, and you still feel guilty about it, but like you're gonna stop. And so like in moments like that, like I'm like, okay, shift is okay, but it's really important that we recognize
you're not after shift.
Yeah, that we recognize that like the goal is to be eating, to not use any animals or not exploit anybody, just like we wouldn't exploit Buddy, So
he's exploited.
Well, I mean, in the sense of maybe
for his affection, for like he provides a lot of use, just in as companionship of a pet. So in a technical way,
I do tend to argue, like a lot of people say, like, oh, why don't you, like I've even said it before, like why don't you treat cows and chickens the way we treat dogs and cats? But dogs and cats in this country are also very like commodified and whatever. So it just depends like what frame we're looking at it from. And so it was a good talk with you.
Yeah, good.
Thank you for stopping by, Jason. I'm Elvin.
Elvin.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you again,
Nice
Elvin.
to meet you, Jason. You have a great day.
The rest of your conversation.
Yes. Goodbye, buddy.